Well, greetings viewers and voyeurs, you're with gothatfunk. This is a video response to JF777 and his video Forcing Religion Upon You. Hi Anthony, my name is Paul. It's nice to meet you, man. I watched your video with some interest, and there are certain aspects of it I agreed with, but for the main thrust of the video, I think what you're really driving at, I have to say I do take some issue. So let's first get out of the way the sense I do agree with you in. In America, at least, for the moment at least, no one is being forced literally to pick up a Bible and go into church. No one's pointing a gun at you and saying, if you don't do this, we're going to kill you. Whereas once upon a time, for example, in certain European countries, if you didn't subscribe to the religion of the king, you could be put to death. Or say right now, in modern times, it's illegal in the Maldives not to be a Muslim. And in the Maldives, if you come out as an atheist, you risk being killed. Right now, 2011. So there are places and times in history where people were forced and are being forced to follow a religion, whether they like it or not, on pain of death. We don't have that in America. But Jesus Freak, I have to say it's a little bit disingenuous to suggest that that kind of force or that level of force is the only level of force that people might feel the pressure of. So just for the sake of being literal though, let's just subscribe to your version of force and say, okay, people are not forced to follow a religion in America. However, I would politely suggest to you that coercion is perhaps a better word to apply. Do you really think that a kid in Mississippi who doesn't believe in God whatsoever doesn't feel forced to say that he does when 91% of the people around him are vocally religious and intolerant of disagreement? There's such a thing as social pressure. Social pressure might not be force in the sense that your life depends on it if you don't follow it. But to ignore social pressure is to ignore reality. Okay? Also, there are religious people trying to force religious sensibilities on our secular government. Our government, which is secular by design. The secular nature of our government guarantees your religious freedom. And I vehemently oppose people using their religious sensibilities to try to influence legislation, whether that is to deny homosexuals the right to marry, whether it is to try to force children to learn about creationism in school as a part of a science class, whether that is to have the 10 Commandments in front of state houses and court buildings and stuff like that. All of those things I don't think are really necessary. And all of those things are trying to be forced on a partially unwilling population. So yeah, there is such a thing as coercion. There is such a thing as being forced to tolerate things that you might not want to tolerate. Now, tolerance is something I espouse and have done my entire life, and I am perfectly happy to tolerate, for example, the words "under God" being put in the Pledge of Allegiance, even though I disagree with it. But I know I've said this in videos before, but you see, Jesus Freak, I don't mind you people, you religious people, having the words "under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance. I just wish that you would pay attention to the rest of it when it says "one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." If you guys paid attention to that last part, I don't really mind if you want to keep your "under God" part in there. It's when you don't seem to want the liberty and justice for all that the "under God" part becomes extra offensive to me. Equally, I don't like seeing "in God we trust" on American money. Not because I'm anti-religious per se, but because, quite frankly, I think it is insidious to the point of wicked to associate money and God deliberately together. Now, you use the example of religious people, missionaries, or, just people, out to spread the word, coming to your door and, offering to share the good news with you. And you say, that's not forcing anybody to believe anything. You can just politely say, no thanks, I'm not interested, and I agree with that. However, you make a really bad comparison when you say, you might have won the Publishers Clearinghouse. Would you object to those strangers coming to your door? Well, those people have something to offer, which is real, for one thing, and which might benefit me according to my own desires, according to my own values, not according to someone else's values. Religious peddlers are not the same. Some of them are quite rude, whether they're people coming to your door or people street preaching. And Jesus Freak, I think you would have to agree that there are a large number of deliberately obnoxious street preachers in various parts of America. So they're not forcing me to follow their religion, but they are forcing me to tolerate that which I don't think I should have to tolerate. But I will tolerate it, Jesus Freak, because I believe in religious freedom. I believe in freedom of speech. So I am prepared to tolerate these things. But for you or anyone else to pretend that there's no level of coercion to accept religious sensibilities in our society, I really think that's dishonest. I have to say I do. You know, I can put up with the billboards. I can put up with every president saying God bless America at the end of every speech. I can put up with people praying in Congress. I can put up with a lot. But what I won't put up with is having the educational system tampered with to favor religion. And I won't put up with our laws, our secular laws, being tampered with to cater for religious sensibilities. I'll say it again because it bears repeating. Our secular government is what guarantees your religious freedom. We need to keep it that way for your sake and for my sake, okay? Anyway, in closing, I'll just say I appreciate, where you're coming from with your video. But there are other kinds of force. Social pressure is real. It shouldn't be, waved away as inconsequential or something that we should be able to rise above. Sometimes in some parts of the country, rising above social pressure, whether it is an option or not, it doesn't feel like an option. And we need to recognize that. We need to look it in the face and do something about it. What are you going to do about it, Jesus Freak? Give that some thought. This has Got That Funk. Thanks for watching, and may all your ups and downs be ups.